State Representative Rosemary Brown of the 189th Legislative District. Welcome to the Legislative Report. I'm joined today with Karl Weiler, the Chairman of Weiler Corporation. Karl, thank you very much for being with us today. And I wanted the community to really know Weiler and get to know you as the company, as the family, the history. I know a great deal about you, and I think there are many people that do, but I also think there's people that maybe have some questions about the company and would be really interested to hear about the growth that you're doing, the employment and the industry that you're involved with. And so I thought it was a great opportunity, and I thank you for being here, and we're going to talk to your son Chris a little bit later as well. So how did Weiler come to be?
Okay, I'll tell you that story. It's an interesting American dream story. It really began in Germany in 1898 when my grandfather, Joseph Weiler, began manufacturing polishing brushes for the jewelry industry in Pforzheim, Germany. Pforzheim was then and still is today jewelry manufacturing capital in Germany. His oldest son, Karl E. Weiler, my father, received his master's diploma in brush manufacturing in 1926, I believe, and then decided to come to the United States just for a visit in 1927. He was born in '03, so he was 24 years old. And once he came here, this was on Long Island, he met a German girl who ultimately became my mother, fell in love with her and the country, probably in that order, and had his father come over in 1931, I believe, 1930 or 31, to tell him I'm not coming back to run the family business. He then worked for a number of other brush manufacturing companies in the New York area, Long Island, New York, Brooklyn area. And then in 1944, at age 41, decided to start his own business. He started in his basement with probably $200 in capital. I suspect borrowed from my mother because she had been working
and at
also.
41.
At age 41.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could have done that.
Yeah.
So he began in his basement. After that, as the business grew on Long Island, he moved into a converted chicken coop and continued to grow the business. Actually built a new building in 1953 as the company continued to grow, but realized that growing a business on Long Island where everything had to flow through New York in terms of raw material and then things shipped out again through New York City was a bit of a bottleneck, so he vacationed in the Pocono Mountain area and started looking around up here, and then in 1955 bought his first 40 acres here in Cresco for $8,000.
Wow.
And he then continued to grow the business. I joined the company in 1961 after college and service in the Army as an infantry officer. And the company probably at that time had perhaps 20 or 25 employees. And today we're well over 380 employees in this facility. We have a facility in Brazil, China, and the Caribbean. So. And I know Chris will be taking you through some of the details, let's say after the 60s where I got involved, but I was in 2011, I had my 50th year with Weiler Corporation. So today I'm in effect a non-executive chairman. I'm not involved with any of the day-to-day management of the business, but Chris lets me continue to interface with the engineers, and which is my first love, is the manufacture of the product. So
well, you know,
that gives you the history.
It's very interesting, and we talk a lot about that people when they vacation in the area, that is their first intro into the Poconos, and then it does move forward into, you know, whether establishing a business, bringing any business here. So it's interesting that even back when Weiler started, that was the initial start.
Yeah, they vacationed here in the late 40s, early 50s, and the area reminded my father a bit of the Black Forest of Germany. Pforzheim is at the northern end of the Black Forest with the rolling hills and so on and so forth. So yeah, it did. So that was a big part of attracting him to the area.
Right. Well, it's wonderful. I know we're very happy to have Weiler here for the business and the jobs and everything else that you do for the community, which we're also going to talk to Chris about a little bit later as well. But before we transfer over to Chris, I want to show a picture of your father.
Yeah, this was my father, Karl E. Weiler. This probably was taken somewhere in when he was in his 60s. Unfortunately, he never made 70. He passed away in 1973, and he had actually moved back to Germany in the late 60s.
Well, he did a wonderful job, and he's got a legacy here at Weiler. And so, Karl, we thank you very much for giving us the intro, and we look forward to even talking a little bit more with Chris.
Thank you for taking the time
Thank
to
you
put this
very
on.
much for being here. So now we're joined with Chris Weiler, who is the president of Weiler Corporation. Chris, thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
And we just got done with a small conversation with your father about how the family history of how Weiler started. But now Weiler is moving in very different directions and has grown so much over the last, many, many years. And you are taking it to many different levels in a new world that we're in right now. And we have so much to talk about, but I think one of the things that when people hear the Weiler Corporation name in Canada, since the Cresco up here, and they say, what do they do? What kind of company is that? What do they do? You are tucked back here, right off the road, and I always like to use you as an example of what we need more of. We need more manufacturing, we need more great businesses, great employment, and you do it all within our beautiful environment and keep everything very nice. So we need more of you. But and so I use you as an example a lot. So when people look and they see the Weiler Corporation sign and they say, what do they do back there? Give us a little history.
Right. Well, thank you. We love being in the Poconos. I grew up in the Poconos, and so, but most people don't know what we do because we don't really serve the local community. We actually serve a global community of customers. So. Our primary customer base is actually welders and anyone who is joining metal together using the welding process. So we manufacture abrasives and wire brushes that are used to clean welds either before welding, during, or after the welding process. And it's generally a business-to-business relationship. So it's sort of like, BASF says, you don't know our products, but we make your products better. And Weiler is a lot that way, and that our products are used in a lot of applications to build bridges, to build pipelines, to build roads. And so we spend a lot of time out there with welders and in factories, helping people to do their process better and really how to apply our products.
To get the job done. Right?
We're very much about getting the job done.
Take for granted all the technology and the instruments needed to get it done.
Yeah.
So there on your website there is a timeline of all the milestones of products and interesting technology that Weiler has developed and has really enhanced the market for those type of welders and contractors. So with that technology and all of that modernization and improvements, is there an in-house type of technology department, and is that something that you continue to work on?
For sure, and that's an area that we're really challenging ourselves with. So, as a company, we're a 71-year-old company right now, and with that, there has to be an amount of innovation that's necessary to stay relevant with customers, to make sure you're creating value. And I think anytime a business gets too comfortable, that's the time to be nervous. And so we've made a lot of investments in looking at new ways to solve old problems with our customers. And that starts actually by being with the customer. So every business starts with a problem. And so we spend more and more time now out with our end customers, watching them use our product, asking them questions about what are their new challenges, how are materials changing, how is their working environment changing, and bringing that back here with a group of engineers and product managers, et cetera, to figure, okay, how do we do things better for our customers? How do we come up with new solutions that are innovative, unique, and desirable?
Yeah. And isn't that true? Because you don't really know sometimes when you think somebody's using a product, you didn't realize that was a problem before, right?
For sure. I think the worst thing you can make in any business is thinking you understand your customers, and particularly now in our age, it's the change is happening so much faster, and so in order to really stay ahead of where our customers are going, we want to be looked at not just as providing products, but we really want to be looked at as a thought leader, that our customers really see us as a resource in terms of who to go to when they begin to run into some challenges.
And I think that's why you've probably done so well, because you are listening in those fashions, and even globally. So we're talking about the United States, but globally, your relationships there have really grown over the years as well. So I know you can give us a little more background of the different countries and where you're going on those scope.
Yeah, they have. So we sell in every major country, really, in the globe, and we have operations now in Brazil, also in China. And it's really about doing the same things there. In some cases, it's about following our customers into those markets, but in many cases, it's about looking for similar problems where we can provide solutions. And Brazil is actually a great example of that. There's a lot of infrastructure being built in Brazil as they mature as a company. And a story that I like to tell is we introduced them to our product. And we came back, a few days later to say, so what did people think? And the manager was very upset with us. He said, you're almost causing a strike in my factory because they don't want to go back to what they were using. Right. They want to keep using Weiler products. So that was, we were happy to give him that problem, right, quite frankly. But it's a great example of knowing that we're doing some of the right things, right, to create value.
A step above what's currently being done. It's great. And there is a tremendous amount of employment, and your father mentioned it briefly, but the amount of jobs that are here at Weiler, tucked back in this beautiful location, over 300 jobs that
yeah, we're at 350 here in Monroe County.
Yeah, and that's tremendous, because the employment that you can live here, work here, and in a great company such as Weiler. And we're sitting in this location here. And I guess, what would you call this? Is this kind of like your main common area of?
Yeah, we call this area the lounge.
The lounge. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
And it has a very new wave kind of feel to it, and really a new environment for what people would consider manufacturing, or even an employee type of lounge. Yeah. So we can't see everything yet.
We've brought Silicon Valley right here, to Monroe County.
Right. That's right, and that's what it feels like. I mean, I'm looking out, and we're going to have some shots of this later, but looking out, it's a beautiful view. This is just open. It's a place where you can kind of have a little bit of downtime or do some meetings and some small kind of group meetings. And behind us over there is a little kitchen cafe that is just nicely done. So is that part of the mentality here that you're also trying to establish with your employees, to create an environment that is just a very pleasant working environment too?
Yeah, I think it goes beyond just creating a pleasant working environment. It's an exciting time to be at Weiler Corporation, because we're going through a transformation as a company. And part of that transformation is about how we work. So, when I first started at Weiler, we were very focused on making product. And so we were focused on individual work and sort of heads down. If I'm working hard, I'm doing what's right for the business. And as we look at what we need in the future, and as we look at the need to make sure we're staying relevant and current with our customers, we wanted to create a working environment that helped to stimulate innovation, helped to stimulate collaboration, and working in different ways, not just working at your desk in front of a computer, but creating a space like this where you can exchange ideas, be creative. We have meeting rooms, but we've painted all the meeting room walls with whiteboard paint, so you can write on the walls, and it's amazing how it changes how we work. People get up from their chairs, and we find ourselves standing at the wall, and we're really, that's how we will create value, is about allowing ourselves to be collaborative and to use the power of all the brains of the 350 people who are at Weiler, and not just the executive brains. When I first got here, a lot of people looked at me, right, and said, what should we do? And I looked back at them and said, what do you think? And that's really at the center of the transformation Weiler's going through.
Well, and we were talking a little bit before the show, about the cubbies, the cubby holes and that old environment of work where if you didn't have individual offices, but you had these cubby holes, and right there, strictly, the border comes up. Yep. The walls are up, everybody's in there tucked in their own little way of thinking, and they're not collaborating, as you said, so it's very nice to see sort of, a much more open environment. It does make sense.
It's the cube farm, which
That's
is
right.
common in a lot of working environments, and we had high cubes. We had, I think they were 6-foot cube walls, and it wasn't wrong. The thinking at the time was, well, that gives people privacy. And it was at first intimidating for people. We brought the cube walls down, but now I can look out, I can see people, I know who's here, I know who's not here. It's much easier for people. People worried about the noise, but actually when you can see people, the noise level comes down because you're a little more respectful because you can look across at conscious of what's going on. So it's been an exciting change in how we work, and I've been delighted at how quickly people have adapted to the new space.
Yeah, it's much more welcoming to collaborate together. Yeah. So you also have a concept of the 3 C's, so to speak, and I know we talked a little bit briefly before, but fill us in on what the 3 C's mean to you here at Weiler.
So I think, so for me, culture is very important, and engagement of the workforce is very important. So you have to be engaged as a coworker at Weiler, you have to be doing something more than just making product every day, and it has to be more than just the work environment. So we talk a lot about the 3 C's, and the 3 C's are really the stakeholders in our business. And so that's our customer, that's the coworkers, and that's the community. And so everything that we do should be impacting one of those C's, and hopefully more than one at one time. And we look at those as they're the stakeholders in the business. So if we're doing well, we should be doing well for all of them. The people who are working here, of course, our customers first and foremost, and then the community in which we live in as well, which is a very important part of what we do here and how we try to add value locally.
Yeah, and before we're going to take a walk through some of the building and some of the offices and parts of the manufacturing, but I know just from being around in the community what I see that you're heavily involved with, and there's always these little pieces too that pop up here and there that I didn't know that you were involved in that. I didn't know you helped with that, and so the community should know that you are a company here that works very hard to give back to the community. Women's Resources always has their butterfly release here. I know United Way, and there's a couple other things. I'm going to let you bring up what you do, because I know it's not always the reason for doing it is to talk about it, but I always do think it's important that companies do tell the people what they do. It's not something you always want to feel like you're bragging about, but I think they should know. And since the local people are watching, I'd like to give you the chance to tell them what you do for the local community, and then and Burnley as well, which I think is something's a long-standing relationship.
Yeah, it's hard for me to just give you a list, but the Weiler family has been living in the Poconos since 1972, and so we certainly feel we're part of the community, and so we're almost not thinking of it as things we have to do or we should do. It's just what we want to do, and it's a little bit of just who we are. And I would say in the past couple of years, what's been really rewarding is we've done a lot more than just business owners. We've really tried to get the whole organization more involved in our 3rd C, in working with the community and for the community. And so the Barrett Scarecrow race starts here, and I love the fact that the start-finish line is at Weiler, and we open up our lunchroom to let people register and other things.
These are the fun things.
Yeah, these are the fun things. We're very involved with the United Way. I think the United Way does great work. And actually, the people who run the United Way at Weiler are our coworkers. In fact, they're up-and-coming coworkers. So they're people who we identify that have a lot of potential, and so we give them the opportunity to run our United Way campaign. So they come up with the idea, they form the team they want to work with, and the past couple years we've done a lot of creative things to raise money for the United Way, and it's seen in the amount of coworkers who are contributing to the campaign, and it's been seen in the creativity in what we've done. So I have a trophy in my office, which is because we had a dunk tank, and I raised the most money, having people dunking me in the dunk tank, and that's just one of examples. So it's about having fun, not just doing things for the community, but building our own community as we do it. And then, of course, Burnley Workshop has been a very important partner to Weiler. Frankly, starting with my grandfather, I believe we began doing work with Burnley, and they play a very important role in supplementing our workforce, if you will, in doing a lot of value-added activity, whether it's packaging, some sub-assembly work, etc. And it's an amazing partnership. It's a partnership that I'm particularly proud of. You know.
And when you go into Burnley, like I said, it's the workforce there doing their project is just, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
There's so much, and then to have the paycheck on, I think it's Fridays, they get their paycheck, and then have the product done for you. It's a really nice, cohesive relationship for the community.
It provides meaning, which is really important in everyone's life. It provides a value to us. It's a fantastic relationship and synergy, and I personally, I don't do it often enough, but I love to go there and have the opportunity to interact with the great people that are at Burnley.
Well, we thank you very much for your involvement there, and I know, like I said, there's many organizations that the company gives back to, and the employees, so we thank you for that as well. So we have a lot more to talk about, but we're going to try to give the viewers a visual, a little bit more of Weiler and some of the things that you do, and just an inside tour. So we're going to walk around for a couple minutes.
Sounds great.
Okay, Chris, so we're in the cafe, and this is just a really nice story on top of being what it's offering as well.
Yeah, so this is Helmi's Cafe, and Helmi was my grandmother, who you know, was actually a longtime employee at Weiler Corporation too. She ran the mailroom until I think she was in her 80s, and was a central part of kind of who we were as a company. And so it was really fun to be able to name this space after her, and it's also great to be able to offer local food to our employees. You know, we're in a bit of a corner of the Poconos, and so getting fresh food, you know, we would just order sandwiches from the same place or pizza every day. And it's a great way to really
some healthy. I see some healthy menu
there's some
options.
Healthy,
the
there's
oatmeal,
some, for sure.
and
There's some
salad,
healthy
some very
options.
good things.
And so it's really a nice thing that we can do for our coworkers. And it's just, you know, one more thing I think that we can offer to employees to say why this is a great place to work. And so it's the culture, but it's a lot of the other things that
Absolutely.
we do.
Creates a great employee environment for good work.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's wonderful. It's a wonderful tribute.
I
as
love
well.
coming here, and it's got a beautiful view of the pond out front and everything, so it's really nice.
Very, very
and it's a great place to catch up with people. We talked a little bit about kind of community and collaboration. You know, we would kind of go all off into our separate places and eat. We had some employees who ate lunch in their car. And we said, so let's use this as an opportunity to create kind of random collisions of people who may not normally talk every day. And sometimes some great things can come out of that.
Absolutely.
So,
very smart.
yeah, it's fun.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Ah, thank you. So this is Machine Center 7050, and it's a good example of one of the primary products we make here at Weiler, which is wire, twisted and knot wire brushes. And the primary customer for a product like this is a welder who wants to clean the metal before welding, or clean as well during the process. There's a lot of technology here, which I can show you a little bit more closely on the robotics that are integrated in this machine. I think a lot of people, when they think of manufacturing, they think of Henry Ford, and They think of sort of dirty factories, and the truth is manufacturing, particularly in the United States, is anything but that. There's a lot of technology that's used in manufacturing in order for us to be competitive on a global level and to be able to provide high-paying jobs. So you see a lot of robotics, you see a lot of engineering, there's a lot of high-tech skills that are necessary not just to design and build machines like this, but to operate machines like this. So next what I want to take you to is another area of what we manufacture, which is abrasive. So very different than a wire process, so we'll head over there now. So another thing that we do at Weiler is manufacture abrasive products, which are used for grinding metal primarily, again, and mostly for the welding industry. Quality and automation is really important. So within our screen, we have automated quality checks so the operator can really stay focused on not inspecting, but making sure that the equipment is running properly and looking for ideas for improvement. You can see with this machine, there's a lot of integration of picking and placing. Again, you know, it's much more than just running a piece of equipment. There's a lot to operating a piece of equipment that's this complex. You know, we find people who like to tinker mechanically do really well at Weiler because, you know, there's a lot of things to learn, there's a lot of things to understand, and to, you know, have equipment like this running properly, it takes a whole team of a lot of different skills to make it work. So one of the things that we look for as we bring people into the organization to work here is actually a strong understanding of math skills and mechanical ability. And so we'll actually do a lot of in-house training to supplement what people learn in high school or potentially trade school and even college to provide the skills that are required to operate equipment like this.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for sharing the Weiler story with us and what you're doing here and how you're moving forward. It's really, I think, very helpful for the people who live in the area to really understand what Weiler does. And thank you very much for sharing all the details with us. We had a great day with you.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's always fun to share what we do here. And I think, you know, Weiler's a great place to work. We're trying to do some exciting things and transform and grow and be an important part of the community.
Well, thank you again for your time.
You bet.
It's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you. That's it for the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. Any questions regarding this show or any other state-related matters, please feel free to contact my office.